Hello and welcome back to the Trout Conjurer YouTube channel. My name is Jonathan Antunes, and today we're going to be tying the brown body gray hackle, the wet fly that became a dry fly. And we'll get right into it. For the hook, we're going to be using a TMC 100 in a size 12. For the thread, I'm going to be using a uni thread in the rusty brown color, which is more an orange color really. And before I get any further, I want to say that this video is brought to you by my day job. So we're going to start from the eye of the hook, and we're going to go 1-2 eye lengths back, which is about there. I'm just going to tie in a couple of, maybe around six wraps, just to get that thread started. For the ribbing, I'm going to use a French tinsel, oval gold tinsel, in small. And oval tinsel does not like to be dragged, especially through waxed silk, so I just kind of set it up on top, and I set it a little bit facing towards me, so that when the thread torque takes it, it'll take it up to the top, and that's where it kind of binds in. So it's a good way of getting a thread started if that thread for some reason does not like to be, or ribbing does not like to be pulled. And what I'll do in this case, you'll have to excuse me, I'm getting over a cold here. I will start wrapping into the bend. I realized that this fly was being taken as an emerger. So now I've taken this into the bend just a little bit, just to extend the body just that much more. Now for the dubbing of this fly, I'm using two different products and mixing them together. This is the Mapgie materials in green drake. This is the fine beaver dubbing. And then the Isonychia color, which is like a rusty red. And when you mix those two together, you get kind of like this olive fish golden brown color, which is very nice. And when I first started tying this, I was tying it with rabbit fur. And then I realized, well, since this is a dry fly, probably will be more suitable to use a dry fly dubbing. So I just kind of went for the beaver, and I never looked back, because this stuff is really great. It creates a very thin noodle almost effortlessly. It's a very nice fine pile, which lends itself to dubbing. So we're just going to start this and just kind of build a taper as we go, and just kind of watch it as it's forming and figure out whether you need to stay or whether you need to pause and just keep tying, adding material to create the taper. I'm just going to need a little bit more here. I didn't like that. Here we go. And there you have it. This stuff does not have many guard hairs, but it does have a few. So oval tinsel is, depending on how old it is, and also, I mean, it really is just it's a piece of tinsel that's wrapped around a thread core. So it's not necessarily very strong. And I've noticed that after getting eaten by a few fish, it does tend to wear out. So what I'll do is I'll take a little bit of Solarez, and I just coat the length, the using length that I'm going to be using for this fly. And when I'm done wrapping, I'm going to give it a nice cure. So I've wrapped it once on the back, And then I'm just going to wrap this gold tinsel as many times as I think would look good. We're trying to imitate a drake here, and drakes have many sections. They're pretty decent looking fly. They definitely have more than 5, I'll tell you that. So I like to kind of go through here and take this very easy, but also keep as many wraps as I possibly can through this body. And that's like what, 7 or 8, something like that. So I've tied this forward a couple of turns. I'm just going to bring this back and bind that real good, and so that will not pull out. And now I'm going to give this a little bit of a UV cure here, and that should hold this in place. So we got a lot of nice shine going through this body, which is exactly what we want. The emerging bug creates a lot of gases in its carapace, so that is what we're trying to simulate. It's also just eye-catching for the fish. So let's talk about hackle, as one should when discussing cutcliffes. I look for a couple of things when I'm looking for hackle, especially when it comes to a cutcliffe fly. And one of the things that a couple of things that I look for is the barb length, right? The stiffness of the barb, and also the shine of the barb, right? So I want it to be relatively shiny, and I want it to have enough length, and I also want it to be somewhat stiff. And Mets works pretty well if you can find them. If you can find the older Mets, they work pretty well. But fairly recently, you'll have this Beaverkill Hackle that's come out from Jimsflyco. And this hackle on average has a wider range of sizes. And this particular color is called a dark gray dun. And the way that I do this, I check the feathers, and I'm kind of like sticking to the edges of the neck, which would be like the throat feathers of the bird. And usually they will provide longer hackles that are stiffer and have more shine to them. A lot of people like to use those for tailing, but really what you should be using is spade feathers, which come off the middle of the bird and not the neck. So here you have the length that I'm talking about, which is going to be a hook's gap distance from the back of the bend. And you can kind of check that just by kind of running this where you're going to be tying it in. And so feathers like this, usually feathers like any rooster hackle really, will have a usable length. You have to excuse me here. Work with me. So usable length is where this hackle stops being supple, where it stops being able to be tied around a hook, right? And you'll notice that as the stem gets wider here, the bend also gets wider, right? And then there's a point on here where that bend becomes more shallow, right? Becomes more drastic. And that's kind of your indication of where that usable hackle is, where that bend starts in earnest, is where you really want to stop it. So I've kind of determined that it's right around here. Right? So I'm just going to take this and cut these back a little bit. There's still some uses for these feathers here. If you want to use them for tailing, you can on smaller flies. I usually kind of let them hang out on my desk and use them as needed. But this is the usable length, right? You have a taper that starts here at the tip, and it starts and it goes up, and then it finally continues on. And this taper is somewhat quick, but what you want to do is you want to kind of grab halfway between that taper, right? So about 2 or 3 fibers in, and you want some of those shorter fibers to be in your fly. just to kind of take up that space between here and the body. And then it just kind of, it goes away very quickly. I mean, within one turn, you're done. So take this. Gosh, I can't get rid of this stuff in my throat. Take this and take an anchor point. Make yourself a little anchor point here. And the anchor point is going to be about the same length as what you have left here between your body and the hook eye, right? The throat. So, take this, wax it really good, and give it a counterclockwise spin. Give your bobbin holder a counterclockwise spin. Cord it up. Now you're going to work this. You're going to kind of build up a little bit of a blend there, because this ribbing has caused a little bit of a step. So as long as you've got yourself covered there and you kind of tapered that down, you should be okay. Because I've spun this counterclockwise, now this thread will kick back and it will keep it out of the eye, keep all the materials out of the eye. And now I have wax thread below and above, which is holding this feather in place. Take my hackle plier and just fold this back. Take your fingers, put it in front, and just grab these feathers and fold them back. Just like that. And that pressure, when I first started tying these, that pressure would just pull it out completely. And it was kind of aggravating. I was like, man, maybe I'll just fold it before I put it on the hook. I said there has to be a different way, so that's kind of why I came up with this wax thread trick, and it does work. And take this, we'll take a little bit more dubbing, and we're going to build a thorax now. And this thorax is going to be a bit heavy, and we're going to kind of do a reverse taper. So we want it heavy at the beginning, and then thin towards the bottom, the bottom of the dubbing noodle. So I'm just going to put a few turns in here just to kind of build this up, as mayflies kind of have a bulky thorax. And then just taper that down. So as long as you have something that looks a little bit more substantial than the rest of the body, you should be in good shape. Take your hackle plier, and now take one turn of your hackle right in place. One turn. The next turn will be a palmer, slight palmer forward, and then again an open spiral from that point. And the next couple sections, this section from here to here is going to be about the same length as the eye. You're really going to want to pack these in. Pack this hackle in. Maybe like 2 or 3 turns is probably what you're going to get. And then you'll finally end up right here. Right? So give my bobbin a little bit of a twist. And now I'm going to work this through here kind of like I would wire through a hackle on a woolly bugger, right? So just kind of move this back and forth. Kind of works that through the hackles, and then I put 2 back here and then 2 in the front, just to kind of secure everything. Now the stem should be facing me, and I can just kind of come in here with those scissor tips and cut that free. And now take this and come in a little bit closer with that. There we go. Let's get rid of that tag end. And now I can build a head here. We want a little bit of an orange color here, so we want to build up enough color. that it's visible to the fish, kind of a hot spot of sorts. So take your whip finish and come in and give yourself a few turns of that. No biggie. However many you feel comfortable with. And then seat your thread really well and clip that close. A little bit of head cement just to make that nice and glossy. And then cure. And that's really it. You don't have to curve these at all. It doesn't make that much of a difference, to be perfectly honest. They just straighten right out and hit the water. But if you like that, look, that curved look, go for it. But that is the brown body gray hackle. It is a Cutcliffe that I intended to fish wet and then realized that it did better job dry. It could still be fished wet. I mean, I've still fished this just one fly and just kind of danced it on the surface and got fish to come up for it. But you have to find the right fish. Like, some fish just do not want to play nice. They don't want to play around. They just want to eat. And some places you'll show up and that's all they're doing. They're just picking off failed emergers, cripples. They're picking them up off the surface. And this is exactly that kind of a fly. That's just where you want to fish this. You want to fish this anywhere that there's drakes happening and they're being kind of lazy about it. And you can just kind of put that in the surface there. And this kind of kicks up a little bit. These fibers kick up a little bit once you put that floating on there. And it just kind of creates this unique, like, backwards sloping kind of structure. It looks very much like the tenting that happens when the wings get stuck in the back case and they don't come out right away. So this is kind of, it's a great emerger pattern, really. I'm surprised how well it worked. But give it a shot. Tie them up in different colors for the hatches that you have. Again, this is a general mayfly pattern, and you can kind of make this work for just about anything that you have in your local waters. So enjoy that, and in the next video I'll talk a little bit more in depth of how what happened when I first fished this and how I got its name.